Here are the Premier League stand-ins with the Premier League returning this weekend and bringing with it the North London derby at the Emirates Stadium. Arsenal taking on Spurs on Sunday. Spurs unbeaten away in the Premier League this season. Arsenal sitting top of the table in the Premier League. This is how recent games look between the two, though, and it doesn't look so great for Spurs. So, Craig, how do you see this one going?
Arsenal. Pretty simple.
Is it going to be a simple win for them now?
No, I mean, I think Thomas Frank has definitely made them, for the most part, tougher to beat. He's much more organised. Listen, that's saying something. I think any manager going in off Postecoglou would be considered more organised. But I think he has really gone the other way. And at times I think it's too much, and I think he needs to find the balance. I think some of their football has been very poor to watch, so I think he's struggling to find that balance between the organisation and then utilising their better players going forward. And I know they have some injuries. That being said, I think even if you go to the Emirates and sit in, I think this Arsenal side eventually will open you up. So yeah, I mean it's a well organised Tottenham side, but it's a Tottenham side that really hasn't flourished as much going forward. And it is early days, I think, as most Tottenham fans would like. And, you know, where it's all going to come out in the wash at the end of the season, I don't know. I don't know. But what we do know is Arsenal had that hiccup at Sunderland. They had the game under control. They winning 2-1 late on. They lost that late goal. So they need to respond off the back of the international window, and I think being at home, I think they will.
Ian, one of the interesting things here is Spurs away form, stronger away from home this season.
Yeah, they're a tighter nut, a tougher nut to crack, as Craig was saying there. I think they've got 13 points out of 15 on the road. So that says that Thomas Frank is getting their act together. But, they haven't played Arsenal away yet. You know how many goals Arsenal have let in at home this season? In the Premier League and Champions League combined, one. The one that Erling Haaland scored for Manchester City. OK, Gabriel's out for what we're told is a couple of months. But now they've got the cover, haven't they, in the squad? They've got this guy Mosquera. They can bring him into central defence, or they can put Calafiori into central defence and bring in Lewis Skelly at left back. So I don't think it's going to disrupt them too much. I'm with Craig. Arsenal to win it, and probably to 2-0.
Yeah, Arsenal against Sunderland. Let's remember, before the international break came, they let in 2 goals there. They dropped points that day, Frank. I know both teams are coming into this on the back of dropped points. Do you think that'll factor into things?
Well, you know what? Arsenal can struggle because, of course, without Gabriel, it's going to be another task. But they have players like Mosquera, who just signed, or some others like Calafiori can play in a centre back, or even Timber. So it can be the solution and not really the problem for Arteta. It's mostly, and I say that during the last show, where on set pieces, when Gabriel is so important, he's a real target for Declan Rice from corner kicks and to aim him and to try to score goal, and he did a lot on that. So I think Gabriel will be missed in that matter, and let's see how it works. But from Tottenham, there is something to play. I like the fact that Romero's back, and with Van de Ven, they are pretty strong with Porro on the right side and Spence on the left side. Vicario is doing great as well. So I think it's going to be a close win for Arsenal. For me, I see a 1-0. We know how Arsenal is going to play. Every game we see, they're very structured, very well organized. The question mark is more on Spurs. Will they be very good like they've always been away from home, or will it be disappointing? And we can see when they play at home. But let's see how it works. But I see a little win from Arsenal.
Could you see a stumble for Arsenal here?
No, I can't. And to your point about Sunderland, Spurs simply don't have the physicality that Sunderland do. I agree with the boys in that Thomas Frank certainly has the Spurs team far more organised. I still think that Spurs' biggest problem is, while they have potentially a very good 11, far too many of their players, I'm thinking the likes of Xavi Simons in particular, are below par as opposed to delivering on what you expect them to. And that's the difference here. It's an inconsistent Spurs organised albeit, up against an Arsenal team who knows exactly what they're doing, knows their strengths, are as good a version of themselves as we've seen, at home in a North London derby. I see this as being far more convincing. I think I went for 3-0 Arsenal.
Ian's been writing about the best players in the Premier League so far this season, and I know you like Martin Zubimendi, Ian. Tell us more about what you like about him.
Well, they asked me to pick out maybe one or two unexpected players who are not getting all the publicity. So Martin Zubimendi, he's arrived in England. A lot of players come to England, and we're seeing it with Wirtz at Liverpool, and are taking time to adapt. Zubimendi's just gone straight into that midfield, sat at the base of the midfield, breaks the play up, uses the ball sensibly, and he's kind of like the heartbeat of the team. So I think he's been very impressive.
I mean, I agree. I know there was a question about what, this is something that he doesn't do very often. This is a part of his game that I don't think you're going to see a lot of. But he's one of those players that you could watch 12 Arsenal games and talk about everybody else and not talk about him. And that's not a bad thing. He is a little bit under the radar in terms of, you might look at him and say, well, pass it forward a bit quicker, pass it forward more. But he just links the play up seamlessly. He's not the most physical player, but he gets himself in good positions. He's always available to get the ball from the fullbacks or the centre halves. And the simplicity of his play just leads to he's like the oil in the chain. He just keeps it going. He's never going to. He might pop up now and again with a goal like that, but it's not going to be a lot. He's just a guy in there that links it all together. And I think the fact that he does it under the radar, for the most part, is a good thing. And I think he does it well. He's almost like a guy who, every week, he's pretty much a 7 or 8, an 8 out of 10. Your manager knows what you're going to get from him. It's simple stuff, it's link up, he's got consistency, and he's happy, it seems, for others to go and pick up the headlines. The Sakas, the Rice, the Odergard, Gyökeres, whoever it is, they go and they grab the headlines. And Zubimendi's the type of player, he just gets in there and he does his job. And thus far, as Ian said, he's done it very well.
Now, we've got a bit of a spoiler alert from Craig as to who he thinks will win this game. But we're going to get a specific prediction tomorrow because he's on tomorrow's show. That's why his name's not on this list here yet.
I'm not doing it now.
This is how things look, though. The problem for Arsenal is that everybody's unanimous in what they think it's going to be. Shaka, you've got quite the win there for Arsenal now.
Yeah, like I said, I am unconvinced by Spurs in so many departments. Unconvinced up against an opponent such as Arsenal. On their day, they can be an outstanding team, but too often you have too many underperformers, too many passengers. Arsenal never seem to have those. And at home, a game as emotionally charged as this one, I think they win this quite easily. You've
been a little bit generous, Ian, not quite so generous as Shaka.
Yeah, I tell you what, though, I'll tell you what's interesting about the way the games are phased this weekend. Manchester City, if they beat Newcastle away, that is a bit of an if, would only be a point behind Arsenal when that North London derby starts. So they've closed the gap and they've looked ominous, haven't they? City, particularly against Liverpool recently. Haaland can't stop scoring. Doku's terrorising defences. So, it's good for the title race. But what will be the situation when that game kicks off? But I do think Arsenal will win it. Yeah, I just think they're the better side.
Yeah, and a little bit tighter for you, Frank.
Yes, because I really think that there aren't a big margin between the two, a big gap, between the two teams, and also because Arsenal, we know how they play. They're not going to look for, that brilliant, petulant win. They're going to do what they have to do. So 1-0 is going to be enough, and they're very well organized, they're very structured. So 1-0, and they can keep the clean sheet, and that's going to be enough. And they're going to win that game. It's what I think. But Spurs can surprise, and they have qualities, and they've showed away from them that they are capable of tormenting, I would say, Arsenal. But I know what Xhaka did 3-0. Is there an Italian player playing? I don't think so. It's only one. He's the only one. And there is a Calafiori on the left side.
Exactly.
So I know why he put 3-0.
Uh-huh.
That's why. He has something against Italy right now as well.
All right.
All right, guess what, guys? The weekend is upon us and club football is back. Here are the odds for the Premier League title favorites, and Arsenal still firm favorites to win what will be their first title since 2003. We'll see if they can do that. Well, let's welcome back in Don and Gab for this one. Now, Don, last week on the show, and I know Shaka doesn't have a lot of faith in your percentages, but you gave us a 50-50% for either Arsenal or Manchester City after what we saw from them to win the title. So after what the news that we got from this international break, with the fact that Gabriel was in action with Brazil and now he's going to be out for at least a month, does that peg Arsenal back a bit now, or is it still 50-50 for you?
No, I think it's still 50-50. I think they've got players that can come in. I mean, no one's Gabriel for them. I think he's one of the most important players for Arsenal. But City have got a very tough game away at St James's Park against Newcastle. North London derby coming up for Arsenal. So I just think it's very, very early. The start that they've had has been magnificent. I think they have been flowing. The game against Sunderland was a hard-fought 2-2 draw, and I thought Sunderland deserved their point out the game. But you look at the fixtures coming up. I mentioned London derbies for them, so that's where the difficulty is going to come. But there's so much time, and there's so many games to try and say, right, who's a standout favourite? I know it's what we like to do, because as fans and as analysts and pundits, we try and predict the future, and we look into the crystal ball and we think, right, who's good, who's flowing, who's struggling a little bit. Take Liverpool completely out of the equation. I don't think they're ready for a title charge at all. So City, I think it's a captain obvious shout what I'm going to say, but after this weekend we'll know that a little bit more, because as I said, there's hard fixtures to come.
Hi, Captain Obvious.
Well, let's have a look at the Premier League standings there. Manchester City, they're in second, and as we know, they have chased down Arsenal before. Up next this weekend, they do have a nice little trip to St James's Park to face Newcastle. And if we have a look at Newcastle's form away from St James's Park, we know it has not been well. Usually we call St James's Park quite the fortress, but Don, if you look at it, they have lost to some big guns at home, the likes of Liverpool, Arsenal, Barcelona, but they did manage to beat Spurs in the League Cup. So how do you see this game going?
Listen, I'd fancy Newcastle against anyone at home. I've been up there. I've seen them beat. I've seen them beat the likes of Man City in a cup. I've seen them beat Paris Saint-Germain. I've seen them beat Man United. I've seen them beat anyone. Tottenham by 6.
But not Arsenal.
Newcastle are a different animal.
And not Liverpool. And not Barcelona.
Just keep naming every win they've ever had.
You say not Arsenal, but not Arsenal this season. They beat them there last season and the season before. So you're looking at a microcosm of a fixture when you say, well, they can't beat Arsenal anymore. Well, only one game, because they've beat them plenty of times over the last couple of years. So
but this season's the one that matters,
Newcastle are a different animal when they play at home.
All right, let's go to our other Newcastle guy. Shaka, what do you think then on this one? Because I know...
To Don's point, both the winners against Arsenal and Liverpool came in injury time at the very end of the game. So, and Liverpool were flying high at the time when they went to St James's Park and won. Arsenal are flying high all season long. Are Manchester City the equivalent of early season Liverpool and current Arsenal? No, I still think no. I still think Arsenal are the best team in the league, bar none. So now the question is, do Manchester City, as good as they have been, do they have what it takes to go to St James's Park and win? I still know, as hopeful as I am that City are the team, and I believe they're the only team that can make this any kind of a title race later on, I just don't think they're as good as Arsenal. I don't think they can go to St James's Park and win. I think Newcastle, their away form is really kind of shining on them negatively. They are far better than their league position would suggest. At home, they're getting job done.
Somebody, because Don is not going to be able to do this, somebody has to explain to me, right? How can this be 50-50 Arsenal, Manchester City, when Arsenal are leading by 4 points. So just by that logic, you cannot have the same chance of winning the league if you're trailing by 4 points.
This is by Don's standards.
Yeah, well, but Don's standards as well. You have to grade on a curve then.
You know Don's percentages are curvy.
Don's percentages are curvy.
Yeah, that's just...
They're all over the
shop. Ali's obviously not capable of looking at my percentages or the algorithms of Shaka. When Man City have chased down Arsenal a couple of times over
your
the years.
percentages.
No, I'm bigging them up.
Minus
Shaka, I'm bigging them up.
No, you're not.
I'm bigging them up, Shaka.
No, when you line them to your percentages,
Ali can't get into gear.
No.
Ali can't get in. He can't get in the algorithms. It comes from a more. Ali comes from a more simplistic place. Ali looks at it very simple. He looks at the points tally, and he goes, Arsenal are 4 points clear. They should win the title, and they will win the title.
But right now
it comes down to emotion, Ali, and the bottom of the team. Can they get it done?
Right, fantastic.
50-50.
Beautiful. Okay, all of that is great. But my simple mind tells me that if a team is up 4 points, right now where we are, because the percentage is now, not 6 months from now, the percentage is now. My very simple mind tells me that team is more likely to win it than the other team.
Gab, you've got the Italian hands up. Let's let Gab in because he's got the Italian hands up.
Alexis said to me, Gabriel's injured.
Let me explain.
Does that change the equation?
Now, you're overcomplicating this. Let's keep it in a simple way that ex-footballers understand.
Okay.
You guys all play golf, right? Yeah. Think
Not
of
very
it
well, but
as a handicap. Yeah, Ali, if you play off a 12 and Craig plays off an 8, then you have an advantage, right? Because it's a handicap. But it still might be 50-50. That's what he's saying. He's implicitly saying
I appreciate
Manchester City.
I appreciate you trying to explain
That's
this.
how math works.
I appreciate what you're trying to do here. But if you think Don gave it that much thought as to somehow project this into a golf handicap, then you're really overestimating Don's ability to do simple math.
I think Don gives it a lot of thought. He loves his percentages.
I'll tell you what then, Ali. If you are so confident Arsenal will win the league, go and take £10,000 of your hard-earned money and go and stick it on Arsenal.
Hey, how about
you are that confident?
Hey, how about you pay me the dinner you owe me that you haven't paid?
Don't touch the question.
The bet you lost to me. The bet you lost to me. You can pay that, and then I will put the £10,000 of my hard-earned money. Good Lord.
Do not dodge the question. That will be paid when I see you in the summer. Gabriel's going to be a big loss for them. That was the question that was posed.
All right. Should we leave it there?
I have no idea what's going on.
I got percentages aren't really.
The future of Ethan Nwanery's potential loan move is suddenly uncertain, as Arsenal remain wary of repeating past setbacks caused by injuries. According to recent reports, the club is open to sending the young midfielder out on loan this winter, but the idea raises immediate questions. Nwanery has become the talk of the moment after a report from the Daily Mail suggested that Arsenal are considering a temporary move for the 18-year-old. Despite his limited minutes this season, the thought of letting him leave, even temporarily, comes with significant doubts. Back in October, Mikel Arteta publicly insisted that Nwanery would have plenty of opportunities to play, pointing to the fact that the teenager had already been called upon when Martin Odergard was injured. "I don't know, but I don't work with expectations," Arteta said at the time. "I work with what the players can give in the context of where the team is at that moment." Ethan played 2 Premier League matches early on because Martin was out. He's played in other competitions and he'll play more. Yet the reality has been very different. Nwanery has logged fewer than 500 minutes this season, appearing in just 5 of Arsenal's 11 Premier League games, none of them as a starter. His only starts came in the 2 EFL Cup wins over Port Vale and Brighton, and in the 3-0 Champions League victory against Slavia Prague. The arrival of Ebereki Eze and the promotion of Max Daumann have tightened competition even further. And despite injuries to Odegaard, Bukayo Saka, and Noni Madueke, Nwanery's pathway has only narrowed. It's easy to forget how young he still is. At 18, and having first debuted at just 15, like Daumann, these are formative years where consistent playing time is crucial. The busy festive period could open that door, but with Odegaard, Maduk, and Kai Havertz all nearing their returns, there's a real chance Nwaneri could slide even further down the pecking order. This is why a January loan sounds logical on paper, but it also sets off alarm bells. Arsenal's season has already been shaped by injuries for the second year in a row, and squad depth has never felt more essential. A single setback among the attacking players over the holiday fixture run could thrust Nwaneri back into an important role almost overnight. The more sensible approach may be to reassess in the summer, once the squad naturally reshapes and the club have a clearer picture of their needs heading into 2025. Only then would a loan feel more secure, ensuring Nwaneri actually gets the minutes he needs rather than risking another stalled development. Even then, nothing is guaranteed. Supporters will remember Serge Gnabry's loan to West Brom, intended to push him closer to first-team football, but ultimately a move that derailed his progress before he rebuilt his career in Germany. Arsenal's recent history with loans has been mixed at best, and too often unsuccessful. For now, the club must weigh the immediate needs of the squad against the long-term growth of one of their brightest prospects. Whether a loan becomes the right option, or another cautionary tale, remains to be seen. But the complexity of Nwaneri's situation extends beyond simply playing time and squad depth. Inside the club, there is an ongoing debate about how quickly young talents should be exposed to the pressures of elite-level football. Some staff members argue that Nwaneri's technical level is already above many players his age and that keeping him close to Arteta's structure will accelerate his development. Others believe that without consistent starts, and without a clear pathway to earn them, his progress could plateau. The uncertainty has also stirred conversation among supporters and pundits. Several former Arsenal players have expressed concern that the club may be repeating old patterns, where promising youngsters become trapped between first-team aspirations and inconsistent minutes. Others, however, believe the club is being careful for the right reasons, protecting a player who still needs physical development before facing the demands of weekly Premier League battles. This internal and external pressure has placed added scrutiny on Arteta's handling of young talents this season. While he has been praised for trusting academy graduates in the past, the balance has become harder to maintain now that Arsenal are competing on multiple fronts and aiming for silverware. Every decision carries weight. Resting senior players risks losing points, while overusing inexperienced teenagers risks injury or decline in confidence. There is also the broader question of what kind of loan would actually benefit Nwaneri, should the club eventually decide to pursue one. A move to a Premier League side fighting relegation could offer minutes, but expose him to a demanding environment that prioritizes survival over development. A championship loan, on the other hand, might provide consistent matches, but at the cost of adjusting to a more physical style that does not always align with Arsenal's tactical identity. European options have been mentioned as well, though not confirmed. The possibility of joining a club in the Netherlands or Germany, leagues known for nurturing young talent, has been discussed quietly among observers. Yet Arsenal are hesitant, given how unpredictable such moves can be and how often they fail to produce the expected results. Meanwhile, Nwaneri himself remains focused and professional, according to those around the training ground. He is said to be eager for opportunities, but not frustrated or discouraged. The coaching staff admire his attitude, which only complicates the decision further. He is doing everything right, and still his future remains uncertain. As Arsenal approach the January window, the club finds itself at a crossroads. The next few weeks will likely be decisive, not just for Nwaneri's short-term career, but for how Arsenal choose to manage their most gifted prospects in an era of high expectations and relentless schedules. Any decision made now will be examined closely, not only because of what it means for Nwaneri, but because it will signal how the club intends to balance ambition with development as they move into the next phase of Arteta's project. Arsenal now face a difficult setback. Piero Hincapié may have to step into the North London derby under less than ideal circumstances after Gabriel's injury blow. The club is hoping that Hincapié's long late return trip to North London won't affect his readiness to replace Gabriel against Tottenham, because losing the Brazilian for such a crucial match is a major hit to Mikel Arteta's plans. Arsenal have already been forced to cope with key absences at various stages of the season, but Gabriel missing the derby presents a challenge of a very different magnitude. Naturally, the focus shifts to who will fill the gap on the left side of Arsenal's defense, and for many, the most logical answer is Piero Hincapié. The summer signing impressed during his only start for the club so far, an outstanding display at left centre-back in the League Cup win over Brighton. That night, he partnered with Christian Mosquera, who is also an option for Arteta on Sunday. One possible configuration would see William Saliba move to the left, with Mosquera taking his place on the right, depending on how heavily Hincapie's international travel weighs on Arteta's decision. And that travel is far from insignificant. The Ecuadorian defender is currently away with his national team. He captained Ecuador during their 0-0 draw with Canada, helping secure the clean sheet. But the real concern comes with his final international fixture. Ecuador face New Zealand in New Jersey in the early hours of Wednesday morning, UK time. The match kicks off at 1:30 a.m. and is expected to finish around 4 a.m. Only after that will Hincapie board his flight back to England, meaning he won't arrive in London until Wednesday afternoon at the earliest. From there, he will have just a handful of days to recover, settle back in, and prepare for one of the most intense fixtures of the season. The slight silver lining is that the derby falls late in the weekend, giving him as much time as possible to reintegrate. Still, the timing of his return is far from ideal and adds yet another layer of uncertainty to Arsenal's defensive preparations ahead of a match that could define their momentum for weeks to come. Beyond the logistical headache, Arteta and his staff must also consider the physical and tactical demands that a North London derby imposes. It is not the sort of match where a defender can arrive underprepared, particularly against a Tottenham side that has looked sharp in attack this season. Any hesitation, any lapse in intensity caused by travel fatigue, could be costly. Inside Arsenal, there is a quiet concern that the club may once again be walking a tightrope with its defensive depth. Over the past 2 seasons, injuries at the back have forced Arteta into uncomfortable choices, and Gabriel's setback reopens a conversation that the club hoped was behind them. The manager has repeatedly emphasized the importance of continuity across the defensive line, especially given how central the high defensive line and controlled build-up are to Arsenal's identity. Gabriel and Saliba have been at the core of that stability, and disrupting it inevitably changes the team's rhythm. Analysts close to the club have noted that Hincapie's profile fits the role well, confident under pressure, quick across the ground, and capable of progressing the ball with either foot. However, they also caution that he is still adapting to the Premier League's pace and physicality. Throwing him straight into a derby environment may accelerate his integration, but it also carries risk. Supporters have expressed mixed reactions as well. Many are eager to see Hincapie given a real opportunity, believing his style suits Arsenal's long-term plans. Others worry that asking him to deliver immediately, under difficult circumstances, could place unnecessary pressure on a player still in the early stages of adjusting to English football. The timing of Gabriel's injury also complicates Arsenal's broader goals. With a congested winter schedule approaching and the title race tightening, every match takes on heightened importance. Dropping points against Tottenham could shift momentum, not just in the standings but in confidence across the squad. It also forces Arteta to rethink how he manages minutes for defenders who have already logged heavy workloads this season. Club insiders say the staff have been preparing contingency plans for weeks, anticipating scenarios where international duties and injuries overlap. Yet even the best planning can be stretched thin when travel delays and late-night kickoffs are added to the equation. In the coming days, the medical and performance teams will conduct assessments to determine exactly how ready Hincapie is for Sunday's showdown. Arteta is expected to make a late decision, balancing long-term health with short-term necessity. The hope is that the Ecuadorian arrives in good condition, responds well to training, and can at least offer a reliable solution in Gabriel's absence. What remains undeniable is that Arsenal enter the derby under a new layer of pressure, forced to adapt, to trust their depth, and to test the resilience that has been a defining theme of their season so far.